Welcome to the Wisdom and Bloom podcast. I am Kamisha, one of your co-hosts here with the lovely Denise. And here on the Wisdom and Bloom podcast, we encourage women over 40 to face this time of their life with courage, with grace, and with humor. Right, Denise?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And today we are talking to the lovely Carolyn Hawes. Carolyn is one of the creators and co-founders of the Devil Wears SPF
Yes.
SPF podcast, which she co-hosts with the lovely Diane Brennan. And they talk about midlife and beauty.
Yes,
we do.
And today she is going to share some of her wonderful midlife beauty wisdom with us here on the Wisdom and Bloom. And we are going to have a very good girls talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right, ladies?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited. I told you I wasn't prepared. I told you we were just having a
Great. And we're so happy that Carolyn is here because she is our guest, but she's more like our extended family for the Wisdom and Bloom because we love her so much and we have such great time talking and great conversation. And we literally can be our most authentic self with her. And that's so important when you're building a community. And we're so appreciative of you, Carolyn. We joke and say, Carolyn was the first person reached out to the Wisdom and Bloom podcast when we were looking for guests and collaborators. And she was that person and something we'll never forget. And she'll always be a staple for Wisdom and Bloom. So thank you.
We really appreciate you guys.
Look at that.
Really. How the hell did you do that?
How did that happen?
I know. It's on the riverside.
Wait, can you both do it?
No, it's just the host. So when next time you record, try it.
Okay, well, I'm sending them to you. That was so sweet. And I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Next time you record, Carolyn, just do it. Send us a heart like this.
I'm gonna do it, and that'll be to you. Just like when Carol Burnett did this, I'm gonna do this for you guys.
Love that.
And you'll know it.
Oh, that'll be our secret. That'll be like our secret code. I like it. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. So, Carolyn, tell us about your journey to this new podcast, which is in its second season.
Yeah.
The Devil Wears SPF. What made you and Diane want to come together to talk about midlife and beauty?
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on. My good friend, Diane Brennan, and I, we had met actually on a trip that we took. We were two solo travelers, and we were bunked together because we didn't even know each other prior to that. And so they had us both bunked together because we were the two who were solo. And we ended up going, it was sort of one of those once in a lifetime trips. We went to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, and we toured through the jungle and had an ecologist talking to us about all of the different plants and all of the cool things that were in the jungle and the natural uses and the remedies you have for them. And a lot of them were skincare remedies. So through all of that, we were also talking about how we loved skincare and deep diving into different remedies and holistic things and not holistic things, and started to discuss the fact that at this age, as we were moving into midlife at the time, that we're seeing so many changes in ourselves, and started to talk about, I guess, the overriding ability for women to make decisions about how they wanted to look, how they wanted to feel, and how they wanted to move through that next part of their lives. So it just kind of bloomed into this much bigger conversation. And when we got back, our friendship grew. And then last year, we both decided that we wanted to try something new. Diane has a career history in radio and media and TV. And I have a voiceover career as well as editing career, and I've done some multimedia. I used to be an editor at a university, and I had a podcast too. And so we thought, let's put all this together and let's dive into some of the things that we love jointly, which is, you know, being in our middle ages, midlife, middle ages, and discussing, how women can move through life looking and feeling their best.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with the Devil Wears SPF, and our tagline is soul care, skin care, midlife, not today, Satan. And it's how your soul care and your skin
Yeah,
care and just being you and doing it unapologetically.
I love that. I love that. I was telling you earlier that I've watched your episodes, and it's just you guys have great banter together, great conversation together, but you also have fun together, and
Yeah.
that's always so great to see women connecting with other women so deep, and yet the humor is still there, and the love and the bond is still there, and you can definitely see that on screen or on video. You can hear it on audio. I seen one time where I think you took a trip and you went to visit her, and you guys was trying to do this skit or something in the kitchen or something, and it was just hilarious. Hilarious. You barely even made it through it. It was just hilarious.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah. We're really good at making fools of ourselves too.
Or just having fun.
And having fun while we're doing it. Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. And
So
being a little self-deprecating.
yeah. So I wanted to talk a few talking points around our conversation tonight is just that about women and beauty and midlife and body images and how we are looked at under a microscope, and as we age we either become incredibly invisible to the
Mhm.
world, or they become incredibly critical to
Yeah.
how we're aging. It's almost like they want us to go in silo to age quietly, but
Mhm.
instead we're blooming and we're aging gracefully and how we want to. Women are judged for getting Botox, but then they're judged for not getting Botox. Oh, she
Yes.
needs to do something. She needs to do something with
Right.
her
Too
face.
wrinkly.
She got
Yes.
wrinkles. We're judged for going gray, but then we're judged for coloring our hair. You
Yeah.
know, we're judged for losing weight, and then we're judged for gaining weight. Like, why are women bodies always public commentary to the world? Why do you think that?
Right. Right. Yeah. Why is it up for discussion?
Yeah, why is that? Why does that belong to you?
Right. Exactly. Why does it belong to anybody else except for
Yeah,
ourselves?
yeah.
Um, that's one of the really poignant questions that forms the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me for the Devil Wears SPF.
Mm-hmm.
I, we've become the damned if you do and damned if you don't demographic.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily just for midlife women. I think that women of all ages, unfortunately, young women,
Mm-hmm.
elderly women, if Jane Fonda wants to have facelifts
Mm-hmm.
and look the way she chooses to look, good for her.
Yeah.
And somebody, as you said, it doesn't matter what the choices are, what somebody ends up wanting to do, especially if they're in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
There's a critique that follows women as to the shoulds of how they should look or the shoulds of what they should or shouldn't do to their own bodies. And I don't know why it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I just recognize, as you were pointing out, that it really doesn't belong to anybody but ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's the patriarchy.
It's always a
Gonna
goddamn
blame the
patriarchy.
patriarchy, Carolyn. It's these men. That's who it is. I tell you, I'm gonna put an answer to it. They're the root of all the evil. Okay,
Break it
it's
down.
the men.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
Because they are the ones who have, I think, established this idea of beauty.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are saying what women are supposed to look like to be desirable for them. right? And
Mhm.
for so long, I do think it's shifting a little bit more now, but for so long, it was as if women were just made for men. They weren't made for
Mm.
themselves. They
Mm.
were made for men. They needed to do all the things to be appealing and desirable and lovable. So they'll be chosen by men. And
Yeah.
so over time, men said, well, these are the things that we desire. We desire youth. We desire, young girls. We desire women who are not looking older. We desire energy. And so this is what has happened. And so as women age, as we naturally do, men are not thinking that we are looking as desirable. And so then women are like, well, what can we do? Because
Right.
we can't really compete with, some of these young girls in other ways. And so I
Mhm.
think that's what it has been. But I do think that over time, women have kind of taken their power back to say, okay, it's not just about what men think of me,
Mhm.
it's also about what I think of me. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
so I'm not really as concerned about what this man thinks I should do with my hair or my body or what
Right.
have you. Now it's more about women saying, okay, well, I'm comfortable with this, or I'm not comfortable with this, and I don't care
Mhm.
what you think. You
Mhm.
can take it or you can leave it.
Yeah.
But I think it started with the patriarchy.
I heard, I was listening to this podcast the other day on relationships, and the guy on there said, you date the best of a person,
Hmm.
but you marry the worst of the person.
What?
And I thought, what could he possibly mean? You
Yeah.
date the best of a person, but
Mhm.
you marry the worst of the person. And he goes on to break it down, and he says, when you're dating, you bring your best self to dating because you're chasing, you're in the hunt, you're dating, you want this person to see all the best things of you, and it goes vice versa both ways. The guy is doing the same thing, the woman is doing it, or whatever the partners or that relationship is, you both are bringing your best self to the table. And then commitment happens, and then you get married, and then you start finding out the flaws, like he doesn't like to do whatever or take the trash out. I'm just
Hmm.
making up some stuff.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't like folding clothes. She doesn't, well, that's actually me. But just like all the things that you start finding out, and you have to determine at that point if you made the right choice. Is this something you want to continue? Is there tolerance there? Is there communication there? How do you guys help each other work together? So you're dated the best of you, and now I'm married to the best, but now I see the flaws as well.
Right.
Easy to tell your partner, you don't have to wear makeup, you're beautiful just the way you are. But yet, when a woman walks by you with makeup on, you are looking. You have the wandering eye. And so, when you say that the patriarch, the men, it just brought that back to me because we look to them for validation instead of looking within. We look we look to them for validation, and it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. I think I agree that our romantic partners um, play a role in the sort of beginning of us figuring out ourselves in a lot of ways. And I think that in addition to that person being in our lives and sort of how we behave and how we look and how that can change as the relationship evolves, I think we also feel a pressure from just other women in general. I think we often, and and it doesn't have to be a negative pressure that we're getting from women. I like to believe that women are cheerleaders for each other, but
Mhm.
I think that we can often compare ourselves.
Hmm.
So we're projecting out something when we see what women look like in magazines and we see in media. And now, I mean, we are so entrenched,
Yeah.
with multimedia now, which isn't something that we always had. And all we're seeing is images that are filtered, images that are created, through artificial intelligence. So like we don't even know what is real half the time. So the expression of who we are in comparison to that is never going to match. It's never going to come together.
Mhm.
And I don't know how it started. I mean, there's so many cultural and just evolutionary things, how when our caveman sort of relatives were trying to get a mate, you always like they were fighting for the strongest dude so they can get the better, food,
Yeah.
kill a bigger prey or whatever. There's always been an element of competition. Now, as we move into a time when we don't need to do that anymore to the extent that, our ancestors did, but we also see it when we're going for jobs. Really a tall, good looking man is probably going to get the job before, a man who is the opposite,
Yeah.
like, and for women, the competition is the same. It's like there's so many things that we in society, whether it's relationships, whether it's just as we are out in our lives and living our lives, and whether we're comparing ourselves to things that we see in media, whether it's just us watching shows, whatever it is, there's always an opportunity for us to feel not good enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really don't know on, in the bigger picture, why that has anything to do with how we look.
Right.
For some reason, that's just been paired, a lot of the time to not feeling good enough. It's based a lot of the time for a lot of people on their physicality in instead of maybe their personality,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
or something else. And I just think it brings us to a time in life, especially in midlife, when we do start seeing really big changes in ourselves because, our estrogen levels are going down, our mental health is changing, our physical being is changing, and then there's a little bit more of a spotlight on how we don't feel the same as we did at another time in our lives, perhaps when we were younger. And then I think the struggle becomes a really mental one,
Yeah.
but it's reflected and it's reminded to us every time we look in the mirror because we start judging ourselves.
Also every time we seek the validation and we don't get it.
Yeah.
So at what age do we look at ourselves and say, you know what, I do like this, I like me, I'm going to validate myself? What do you think about that, Kamisha?
Well, you hit on something, Carolyn, when you were talking about women and the competition between women and how women, we like to believe that women are supportive and encouraging. But many times women are the most critical of other women. And it reminded me of in my family when my mom would visit my grandmom and I would be with her. And I remember sometimes my grandma would be like, "Oh, you're getting fat. You're looking fat." Not to me, to my mom.
Yeah.
But I heard it, right? So now it teaches me that, okay, weight is something that's important to my grandma. And then it'll be important to my mom. Now it's going to be important to my family, right?
Yeah.
And if I hadn't heard that in my community and that, in that sphere was my, family community, it probably would not have been anything that I would have thought about. I don't remember her saying like anything like that to like my uncle, about him gaining weight or him looking fat or anything. Not that, when I was around, but certainly I remember her being critical of my mom. And even now, sometimes, because I don't dye my hair. I mean, well, this is a beautiful wig today, but generally my hair is not dyed. And so I have some gray. And even my mom will say, "Look like you got more gray. Looks like you got more gray." And this is my mom. But I'm just like, you right. And I just carry on. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
there's something about being raised, I guess, in a community that is critical of women, right?
Mhm.
But then you now are critical of other women in your community. And I guess it probably started as something protective, I would think.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think my grandmom is saying that to make my mom feel bad about herself. I think
Right.
she's saying it to let her know that she might need to do something about her health or whatever. But
Right.
it doesn't come across that way,
No.
and so even when you see online, as you were saying, other women who are looking a certain way, now you're comparing yourself, saying,
Yeah.
okay, what is it that I need to do to
Yeah,
look like her? Because you see something desirable in her.
that's right.
Either maybe she has a man and you don't have one. So you're like, oh, well, maybe that's what I need to do. Or she has money, or she has some confidence or something. And you're thinking, okay, if I change how I look, then maybe I can be more like this
Yeah.
woman, you
Mhm.
know? So
Mhm.
there's the competitiveness, there's the comparison among women, and I feel like that doesn't help either because you have the men that are talking about what women should look like. Now you have women that are
Mhm.
saying what it is that you need to be doing
Yep.
with your body.
But what makes them authoritarians over what we look like?
Right.
We and have I've heard this. You look young for your age.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know if that's a compliment, but people seek that. Like you look young for your age, or you're pretty. You're really pretty for a big girl. You know,
Yeah, big girls are supposed to be
like what do big girls supposed to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
trolls, big old ugly trolls.
Yeah, but they feel like they have a sense of ownership in
Yes.
your life or who you are,
Yeah.
how you're aging, what you're wearing, how
Mhm.
your hair looks, what your
Mhm.
skin look like. You
Mhm.
know, they feel like that they have some type of ownership and they
Yeah.
can just blatantly say what they want to say.
Yeah. And I don't think, I think when it comes down to it, that's the unfortunate reality is that's going to happen no matter what. Like you guys said, like if you're doing something, so-called doing something to take care of yourself, whatever it is, like
Mhm.
anything, right? Like it could be plastic surgery, or it could just be skincare you're using, or you're doing something, body shape wise. Like it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
what it is. It seems like if you're doing it and if you're not doing it, you can be criticized for both.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
When I sit back in my life, and we've talked about this before too, getting to the fuck it wall part of your life where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, who else could I possibly have to answer for? Who else could I possibly have to make decisions for about myself
Hmm.
Mhm.
other than me in my life
That's right.
now?
Mhm.
And I think and I hope that we can be a generation that starts to teach the generations younger than us that at some point, the only thing that's going to matter is how you are feeling about yourself and what you're doing for yourself. And whether you feel better, having a procedure, or you feel better in a certain size, or you feel better, whatever it is, it's so irrelevant other than the fact that you feel good about you.
Mhm.
But yeah, what is that? Because it's so entrenched in everything. And so part of the conversation that we're trying to have on our podcast is that here's some of the stuff out there that people are doing, and not just women.
Yeah.
It's skincare
Oh
is
yeah, men
for
too.
anybody. Yeah. And so here's different treatments, here's different products. Let's talk to some of the founders of these products. Let's talk
Mhm.
to some different physicians. Let's talk about our health and how that also reflects, on our appearance and how we look and we feel, how that all combines, whether it's hormone replacement therapy
Yeah.
or it's, skincare products. They can still make a difference for how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror.
Mhm.
And talking about it and modeling the fact and laughing, as you said, the way Diane and I will just laugh and And, our commentary about ourselves is sometimes silly because God knows I have brain fog half the time that I'm doing the podcast. And to model the fact that the decisions shouldn't be that weighty, and we're simply internalizing why we're making the decisions for ourselves rather than discussing it to think of how we would like to look in comparison to anybody else out there in the world. And yeah, it's such a big conversation.
Mhm.
And why is it even a conversation is, I think, like how you said, Denise, like, why does it even have to be a conversation for other people to have about what we choose to do and how we choose to look?
Yeah.
So is it okay to have wigs? Is it okay to change the color of our hair? Is it okay? Like at what level is it okay? And then at what level have we gone past the line and it's not okay? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and
and
why
most of them don't know that. You don't know what a person has gone through. You don't know why I gained weight. You don't know why my hair is the way it is. You don't know the root cause. You don't know the trauma. You don't know the path or the journey.
Yeah,
You're making an assumption that you know something about me and you know jack shit. You know.
exactly.
So I agree. You don't have that position to
Yeah,
say anything at all.
And it
I've
shouldn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I've gone through something or I've gone through absolutely nothing at all. And I've just decided that this is what I want to do today.
that it
This
makes
is
you
how.
feel good.
Right. I feel good wearing this thing. I feel good getting this procedure. I feel good, whatever it is that I want to do to show off my body and my
Exactly.
skin and my appearance. And it's up to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
it's not even up to you. And I don't even need to explain to you why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you were more focused on yourself, you wouldn't have time to ask me about what it is I'm doing,
Mhm.
unless you are thinking maybe it's something you might be interested in doing yourself and you want
Yeah.
some,
Want some advice?
advice or something. Right, 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 right. Some advice, but not like from a critical perspective. And I think that, women, especially at this age, as you said, Carolyn, are just more bold about what their choices are. Like, this is what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Mhm.
And that's it. Full stop. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing else to talk about. This
Mhm.
is what it is. This is what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I don't need to explain. I don't need to justify. I don't need to tell you why or why not.
And it
And you just have to deal with it. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
and it's so interesting because we're also going through this time. I totally agree with you. And we're also going through this time where it's almost like, well, if we're going to do something, like say a woman has a surgical procedure, then there's almost an expectation, well, then you should come out and tell us all that you've done it. And it's like,
Right.
who the who the hell is anybody? Because that's the other side of that coin. It's like, well, we can accept it
If
as
you let
long as you
Tell
come
us
out and tell
why.
us all,
Yeah.
or people will ask you and say, well, what did you have this done? And it's like, again, whether
Mhm.
you choose to do anything with your body, at what point in time did it ever, your medical history,
Right.
your history in your relationships, you are allowed to keep whatever you want about you
That's right.
for just you.
Hmm.
And also, I do, however, celebrate women who feel like they can share it, which is awesome too. But I don't think one is any more
Than the other.
yeah, like the simple act of doing something for you is what should be celebrated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Celebrate the fact that whatever you choose to do for yourself is coming from a place of and self-empowerment,
Yeah.
Right.
and that you simply feel better about you, and that's where the conversation ends on that. And if you choose to share it with people, that's great.
Hmm.
If you say, that's nobody's business but mine, then that's
Too. Yeah. You remind me of a story that I heard. Well, actually, it's not a story. So the gymnast Simone Biles, right?
Mhm.
She had a breast augmentation. And so she comes across my feed sometime. I don't think I follow her, but she comes across my feed sometime. And so she's talked about it. But the thing I liked about it was she didn't say why. She wasn't like, I did this because. She's like, people have been asking, and she's like, I'm just gonna tell you what I did. She's like, I got this under the muscle, this was the size, this is what it is. But she didn't like offer an explanation as to why she did what she did.
Right.
She was only answering people who I guess were curious about the procedure itself and what she had done.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very interesting and kind of like very healthy approach to it versus a kind of, well, let me tell you why I thought I needed to do, you know what I mean? Do
I
this.
agree.
She didn't say any of that. She's like, this is what happened. This is what I did. And this is, what it was. Like it was this size versus that size or whatever. And I was like, see, now that's what it is. It's not an explanation. Like I'm just sharing what I've done, but I'm not asking for your permission and your acceptance on what it is that I've done.
Exactly. And because so many times when people go to the next step, we almost feel like we have to justify it because it's a health reason. Like I had a breast reduction because my back was hurting, like that's why I had the breast reduction, because my back was really hurting and I was finding it, really uncomfortable. I was starting to get a lot of pain. And then it's almost like, well, then that's okay.
Right.
We understand.
I understand.
Like your boobs are awesome, and now we understand why. Like.
And I always thought they were too big anyway. So I'm glad you decided.
I was watching a documentary last night, guys. I don't know if y'all seen it yet. And it's the documentary about America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks.
I haven't seen it.
No, it's been making a lot of news, but I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either yet.
It was horrific. So I was a fan of America's Top Model back in the day. I used to watch.
I was too.
I used to watch it all the time, and there was always something as the seasons or the cycles was more. There was always something I would cringe about. Like, wait, what are we doing? Like, there was one episode where they were wearing meat clothes made out of meat to model. It was just,
Lady Gaga did that.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But in this documentary, you guys, it was emotional. I mean, I must have cried 3 or 4 times watching it, because the women came there excited and with a dream and just innocent, and they left there broken, and some just horrified. One girl was like drunk raped. It was horrifying just listening to the young ladies and who they came in as and who they were when they left, with all the judging and the things that was said to them. There was one black girl, Danielle, and she had a gap just like mine, and she loved her gap, and she was so proud of her gap, and it was the thing that set her apart. She was a black model, and Tyra convinced her that nobody would book her with a gap, that you are going to get sent home if you don't get your gap closed. And so she sends her to a dentist to close her gap, and she says no. The model says no. And when they come back to the judging, Tyra told her, so you're going to let a gap come between you and you winning America's Next Top Model. I mean, she just drug her about that gap. And so the girl eventually agreed, and she gets her gap closed, and she's just, you could tell how sad she was. But she goes on to win America's Next Top Model, and she never got booked. She ended up with the Ford agency because that was the prize package. They stuck her in a model's apartment, and they never dealt with her ever. And she was in there with other models who were not on America's Top Model, and they were getting go-sees and castings, and one girl became one of the top model in the world, and she was never, ever, ever seen. And one of the girls told her that the agency said they would never, they just honored their contract. They didn't have to give her any work. You know what I mean? And they said they wouldn't do it because she was a part of America's Next Top Model. Now the next cycle come, and there's a white girl that's on there, and she has a gap. Tyra loved her gap so much and praised her gap and told her how unique she looked and even said that we're going to widen your gap a little bit more. You can continue to stand out as a top model. I mean, it was just,
So was this a racial thing or was it a beauty thing? It sounds like it was a racial
she
thing.
said it was a beauty thing, but the very next cycle,
Mm-hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, and the black girl Danny, they was interviewing her, and you could tell that she has just went from trauma to trauma with this whole
Mm-hmm.
America's Top Model, and she said that Tyra was so insensitive, and that for 15 years she has been going through so much hell and struggling. And she said Tyra called her one time and said, I knew you were struggling, and my only regret is that I didn't step in and help you out sooner.
Hmm.
That was it. That was all. She still is not helping her. And it was just the weirdest thing just to see these women being judged so horribly
It's a
by
model
other
show.
women.
That's what it is. I mean, not to be cold. I'm not being cold, and I stand behind what I said
Well, you
about
are an
judging
I
Aries.
feel like it was so.
women,
Yeah, she is an Aries. Well,
especially
kind of.
supporting women. Yes, I stand behind what I said about women supporting women, and you can do whatever the hell you want. And it's a model show.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen? That's exactly what that business is. All it is judging you to see if you fit whatever stereotype, whatever look, whatever ideal they have for whatever their campaign is, whatever their show is, or whatever. And if you don't, then they say you're not good enough. You don't measure up because of whatever this beauty thing is.
Yeah, I
Now,
almost think
I
it
think
was the
some,
way it was done though. Like one girl said, "You would never make it. You like a pig." Like it was. I think it was just the way it was done. It
Right.
wasn't that it was done
well,
constructive criticism.
maybe what America's Next Top Model should have been is some kind of mental health agency. Is that what you're saying? They should have
I'm not
actually
saying that.
supported girls
They
with.
should have had that. They should have had that there. They should have had someone there to help them deal with, because some of these girls was like 17, 18 years old, have never even left their house, never left their state, don't know anything about the world, and you go from here to here, and it's like culture shock. And you mean that you don't have nobody on that production to just help them to navigate what is happening to them, to help them digest that.
Well, I can see.
The girl that got raped has never been the same.
Well,
And they filmed it. They filmed the whole rape and no one stopped it. No one stopped it.
well, okay. Obviously, now that's just taking us down a very negative spiral. Okay, I'm not gonna ever say that that's something that people should be, should be thinking is gonna happen, right? When you go for any job or any competition or anything, obviously, I'm not saying that. But what I'm talking about though is the fact that they were judged on their looks in a modeling competition. And sure, maybe some of them are young and perhaps they could have used some more support about like what that means for them and how they need to
And
strengthen
that's
their
all I'm
own
saying.
self-image and self-confidence. But that's what modeling is. And I do think sometimes people go into modeling because they want to prove something to themselves, that they are good enough, right? That they are pretty
I
enough,
agree with
that
that.
they
I
are.
do agree with that.
And so then you have people that are now coming to say you're not. Of course, that's gonna fuck with your mental health, and how you perceive yourself. Now, the way she
Also, I
girl
also
is
feel, Kamisha, that it's the delivery too. People can tell you that you're not good enough for that. I've been told that my whole life, even as a kid, even by neighbors. I've suffered colorism by other black women who felt like I was too dark, I was too black, I looked like an animal, like by other black women. I understand that,
there's
but
no nice way to say that though. You just said it's the approach. You just said that.
I feel like it's the delivery. I honestly feel like if I tell you I don't think that you're going to make it. I don't think that at this point that in your career that you're good enough. You need to go back, you need to work on X, Y, and Z. I think that's a better way of saying you're not going to fucking make it. You look like a fucking pig. I'm saying the delivery means something to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because this is like the show, that show, of course, it
Mhm.
was sort of showing the behind the scenes
Mhm.
stuff, like that
Mhm.
was more of the dirty,
Yeah.
abusive stuff that was going on. And then it's like, well, it is a show about how you look. And it is not only just a show about how you look, but it's a competition that
Mhm.
is solely based on how you look. Yeah.
I
I
just think
actually
they
don't
were.
even know where I'm going with that, because it's like it is so interesting. Like you're right in the middle of it, and then
I just don't feel like they protected them outside of
right,
the competition. I
right,
really don't. Like
right.
there was one part where they had to take pictures of them dancing, doing like a tribal dance or whatever with three other model men. And the men were just supposed to just surround them and dance while they dance. While they're This one dude was literally molesting this girl, like touching her and rubbing his thing on her and all. And she stopped the shoot and she's like, I am not comfortable. They're not supposed
Mhm.
to be touching. We're supposed to be dancing.
Mhm.
And he is touching me and moaning in my
Mhm.
ear. And she says, I'm not comfortable. And they looked at her as a disruptor, like you're disrupting the shoot. You need to just
Yeah.
suck it up and keep going. So all I'm saying is these girls was not
Yeah.
protected. These were young girls and they were not protected. You know,
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
like they should have been protected more.
I mean, listen, Denise, listen to
I'm
me.
listening. I'm listening.
In our country right now, there is a huge, huge news story about girls that have not been protected.
Mhm.
Young girls, young girls,
Mhm.
younger than the girls that were on Top Model,
Mhm.
that were not protected by these old men and women, because it was women involved as well. There's always women involved in these things. It's not just the men. And I think it's a bigger thing than just that show. I think there's a challenge with women being protected in our society. They just aren't. They aren't protected. They
Mhm.
aren't protected.
Yeah.
And so if you are choosing to go into a career, now I'm not saying that you need to expect all of these things because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
What I'm saying is that it is a career based on how you
Yes.
look. It is
Yes.
a career based on how you look,
And I agree.
and there's some things that are going to be said that are going to be uncomfortable,
I
right?
agree.
And there's
Mhm.
going to be some people that are going to say some things that are not going to be, they're not going to say it nicely
Mhm.
because they don't feel the need to say it nicely. They don't care to say it nicely. They got a lot of people to see, and this is what it is, right? They
Yeah.
feel the
It's
need to tell you,
cutthroat.
right, all that you have wrong with you. And to your point, that does get into the, the head of the girls, and can affect their lives and impact it like in huge big ways.
Mhm.
But to me, the bigger question, even outside of just this show, is what is it that is being done to protect women? What is being done to protect girls
Right.
from these kinds of criticisms, from these kinds of even abuses,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Not much.
No.
Not much has
Mhm.
been done or will be done, at
Right.
least probably in our lifetime, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So this is just the result of that. And I guess on a bigger scale, where you saw a show and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. They're just competing and everybody loves everyone. And you've got all of these stars that come out of the show, and you see what really happens is what happens many places to women, and
Mhm.
how women are treated, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the show the and to in the creation of a show like that too, when we're talking about the protection of women, of people, um, you're there is a huge amount of, when it comes to something that's profitable, right? There's this huge amount of just using and abusing and looking for that moment that's going to make great TV, and then allow it to go on because they're just using them for the emotion that they can evoke, or
Mm-hmm.
for the drama that they can evoke,
Mm-hmm.
that's coming out of there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's such, you're like, I mean, this is just touching on so many things, right? and
Mm-hmm.
and then at the center of it is how well, there's obviously we're going into things like society and cultural and laws and justice and everything.
Mhm.
But at the heart of it, when do we stand in the empowerment of ourselves, and when do we have, when are we able to have, you know, a show about modeling that doesn't see that monetizing of women's suffering is good TV?
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just have it about
Yeah.
these girls who are trying to start into a profession, to do something in a profession that doesn't take it to the step a step further, where it has less now to do with the fact that they're just in a competition for
Mhm.
a certain career of their choosing, but it's now monetizing their despair and monetizing their suffering, because that's part of the entertainment of the show, I guess.
And abusing
Yeah,
them, right? Like these women, I mean, sound like many of them. I haven't seen the show yet.
I haven't seen it
Have
either.
been,
Yeah.
are being abused, and people are okay with it. You
Yeah.
know, they're fine
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Exactly. I know. I mean, it takes us, it's such a huge conversation, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's such a huge conversation and it goes in so many directions. It's women having autonomy over their themselves,
Mhm.
whether it's autonomy over their bodies, whether it's autonomy over their mental health, whether it's autonomy, that was my desk, sorry, whether it's autonomy over, you know, how you look, and whether it's autonomy over how you age and it's your health. It's about women having autonomy rather than us being this entity that is somehow okay to just take pieces of them, of women, of ourselves, and separate it into these things that can be objectified or things that can be just judged
Yeah.
on their own accord. When did we become this fervor for other people to just piece apart like that
Mhm.
and judge whatever we end up doing?
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't.
When did you? Let me ask you, Carolyn. When did you get to a point where you did not care anymore?
Yeah.
Like, and how has it changed, right? I know you said when it was, kind of midlife, you got to this point where you're like, you know what, I don't really care as much. But I'm sure when you were younger, you cared a lot about
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
people thought about you and your image, and how you looked and how you looked to them,
Yeah.
and did
And you
all
don't.
kinds of things.
I
But what,
agree.
yeah, like what was that like? And then how did you get to this point of I'm not concerned anymore?
Yeah.
And I don't even know, truthfully, that I'm completely there.
Hmm.
You know, things still hurt.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe part of me hopes that I never quite get there, because I don't want to be so apathetic to everything else that I'm somehow completely sheltered to all of that. I think some of that overlaps. You know,
Hmm.
you care a little bit about what's going on, then you have to care about what's happening for other people too, I think. I I got to I guess, a stage, and it's not, it's always evolving, right? Like, it's always like you kind of wake up one day and you're like, oh, it feels a little bit different now, but you don't really know the exact time and space and place and what happened in your life that got there. Yeah, it's like
Hmm.
all the bits of growth that you've done along your
Right.
life and the
Right.
experiences. But I do think that middle age affords us with a time to really look at our lives in a different way and to reassess what we're doing with it, what we want for ourselves, and what we want for what we have left, like the future that we have left to live. And whether, I was thinking of a career change and changing my career and starting a podcast, whether I was deciding that I wasn't feeling well anymore and I needed to find a women's health specialist and start looking at my health becoming better.
Hmm.
All of these things were decisions that really required me to solely look inward and say, I'm not seeking out mental health and physical health advice for anybody else, but I'm doing it for me, whether anybody else understands it. I'm going to start taking estrogen because I think I need to, because I want to feel better. I want to make a change in my life. And
Yeah.
I think along with that, and starting to recognize that I need to start making decisions for myself, regardless of what I'm hearing or what other people might do, what other women might do. I also think that how we look and how we feel is all part of that same basket,
Mm-hmm.
that we have of things. And so in reflection, I do think it's a middle age event. Like, and it's not one event, but it's a middle age event where I've moved into a time in my life where I don't want to apologize for feeling good, no matter how that's reflected.
Yeah.
I want to feel good physically. I want to feel good mentally. I want to be a better person for those that I really care about.
Mhm.
And I want to be able to choose to put less time into those who I don't care about,
Yeah.
and that's a biggie
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
And I think for me, the part about recognizing that I get to choose what I do with my body, I get to choose how I want to look, and I don't want to have to apologize for it if I'm doing things for myself or if I'm not doing, whatever you're doing, you're always doing something. But
Mm.
whatever you're doing for yourself and your physical appearance, I just moved into that space at the same time I moved into that space where I was like, I'm not going to apologize for doing things that help me mentally and help me physically as well. I think it was all just together in that same packaging.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do
I
you
love.
guys feel that? Do you guys feel that you came to that time in your lives where,
I think I'm still evolving with it. I think I'm still growing. We recently made our own chapter under the We Do Not Care Club
yeah,
with Melanie Sanders. I didn't think about it as much as We Do Not Care until her platform came along. But I think prior to her platform coming along, I was in that mode already, but I just didn't give it a title. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I was in that mode of, I started therapy. I started doing these different things, and I just didn't care what anyone thought about me going to therapy, about me sharing what has happened to me and when I was in the military, about my trauma,
hmm,
about the sexual assaults, all the things that has driven me to be this shell sometime that I am. And I had gotten to the point where I'm going to therapy, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to apply for some help, and I didn't put a title on it. I just knew that I didn't care what other people thought about what I was doing, and I
yeah,
was just going to do it, you
yeah,
know. So I do think it was an evolution. It was a slow kind of thing that was happening. It was a shift, so to
hmm,
speak, and you
hmm,
could feel it. And then Melanie Sanders came along with the We Do Not Care Club, and I thought, huh, that's it. I think that's it. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of, but I think it's ever evolving because I still care about some shit. You know what I'm saying? So, and I express it to Kamisha sometime, and Kamisha's like, no, you're not. Don't do that. We're not gonna. You know what I mean? You have that voice of reasoning, that friend, that person that God has put in your life to be your connector, your resource. And so I think is ever evolving.
yeah. I hope it is.
Me too.
I would agree. I feel like I am evolving as well to have more things that I don't care about that aren't important. And I still, of course, care about things that are worth caring about. I feel that, and Denise has said this too before about how at this age we're just unlearning so many things. When you are a young girl, I think you're told to care about things that you don't know why you're caring about them.
Hmm.
And then as you get older, you're like, wait a second, I really don't know that I even care about that. And then once you start releasing some things,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of been my evolution. It's almost like the more things I start releasing, or the braver I get, I guess,
Hmm.
and the better I feel about being brave,
Yeah.
then I want to take more risks and release more things. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
That's
it
good.
wasn't right. Like that actually felt good not doing that thing, or that
Mhm.
Yeah.
actually felt good, like setting that boundary or saying no or whatever.
Right.
And then you just kind of feel freer to do it more often, right?
Yeah.
And so it is, but there's still like certain areas in my life where it's easier for me
Hmm.
to be freer. And
Hmm.
then others I'm still like struggling,
Yeah.
Hmm.
like struggling with.
I
But yeah,
love
it's
it.
definitely an evolution.
I love that you said feeling better about being brave. I love that statement because sometimes we're brave for others and
Hmm.
we're like, if I could do it for them, why can't I do it for me? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Mhm.
then you become brave for you, and it's almost like, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to do it for others. I'm not supposed to do that for
Yeah.
me. But then when you get to that point where you feel better about being brave for something that you care
Hmm.
or don't care about,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you want to do it more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can continue to feel
And that also includes being bigger,
Yeah.
like being louder and taking up more space in a room and taking up more space in the world and not caring if other people are uncomfortable with you doing that.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, it also means that if you want to do things and wear certain clothes that you've always loved, but you always feel like, oh, I don't want to draw attention to myself, or what is that with women anyway? Like that's another question.
Yeah.
What is it with women where there's this pressure to be a certain way, like to
Mhm.
hold it all together, to
Patriarchy.
be yeah, it's the patriarchy, to be beautiful, to be this, to be that, to be this, to be,
Mhm.
like we put on ourselves from the ideals of what we see out there.
Mhm.
And yet, when we're doing it in real life, it's almost like, well, who the hell are you? Like, what is she doing that to herself? What is she doing wearing, that hair? What is she doing wearing those clothes? What is she doing? Who does she think she is? Why are her heels high or
Mhm.
whatever it happens to be? It's this shift to allowing ourselves to say that I can take up more space. I
Yeah.
can do that. And I can walk through this world as I choose to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
looking however I choose to. Because the point of all of this. And I think the point of, the Devil Wears SPF is that there is no wrong choice if you're doing something that's true to you.
Yeah.
Right.
We happen on our podcast to love skincare, love the products, love all those things, and we love talking about them with people and seeing what kind of new things are out there, new technologies, and allowing people to make those decisions for themselves as to what they do.
That's
But ultimately, it's just giving people permission to say, women permission to say, this is of interest to me. I might look into it. I might want to feel better in this regard. I might, or say, I'm really into the skincare part of it, but I don't feel the need to. It's up to you. It's
Right,
up to
right,
you
right.
how you look and how you feel and
Mhm.
how you move through the space of this world, whatever that may be, whatever those decisions may be, and without judging ourselves for doing it.
yeah.
Like, I do not care.
Yep.
Yeah, the challenge. Not
Why do
judging.
we always solve everything? Like, why do the three of us, why are we so goddamn wise, first of all?
So it's called wisdom.
You got a problem, just send it our way.
Like, I just think we need a bottle of tequila and to just like keep on solving. Like, let's just let this roll. Let's just keep
Solve it all.
on goddamn solving.
I know. I want women to
Solve it
feel good
all.
about themselves. I want
Yes.
women to feel good in their skin. I want women to, live big and boldly and do whatever it is that they want to do, and
Yeah.
and not worry about what other people are saying or thinking. And the only question is, does this make me feel good? Do I enjoy myself a little bit more when I do this thing, or
Yeah.
have this thing happen to me, or engage this way, or whatever, or speak a little
Yeah.
bit louder, or
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I don't know that before it was okay for women to say that kind of stuff as much as it is now,
No.
and some of it may be the younger generations because they just don't care. They just say all kinds of stuff. And I think they also give
Always
us, right.
do.
Some of them, yeah, give us a mirror to look at ourselves and be like, well, how come we don't say that? And I mean,
Yeah.
some of the stuff we don't want to say anyway, but still, it's
Yeah.
more reflective, right? About who you are and where you are, and like questioning why. Why do we even do the things that we do? Why do we act the way that we act?
My
And
hope
who
is
told
that
us that anyway, you know?
exactly. And my hope is that one day it just won't damn well matter.
Yeah.
You know, like we'll look at any woman walking down the street and we'll be able to say, well, I love this about her. I love the stride she takes. I love her hair today. Oh, I love whatever. And it can be a woman of any age too,
Mhm.
because age is one of those things that we're also being judged for. You can look a certain way until you're a certain age, or you're at that certain age, you better start trying to look
Right.
younger and start
And you
looking a different
gotta
age.
dress.
And
You
it's
gotta
like,
dress older. Your conversation
yeah,
gotta be older. God forbid, 50 and 60, and we talk about still having sex. We talk about relationships all the time, and like I was telling you earlier, some guy, came on our comment and called us old bitches. Like we're not supposed to be able, like, to talk about
right.
certain things. Like we are just not here anymore because we are
Right.
aging.
We should be out of the conversation.
Yeah,
We
it's
aged out of the conversation.
You're
age ourselves out of the conversation.
Yeah, when in reality, your vitality should never end,
And
you
wisdom.
know?
It's
And
wisdom,
wisdom.
pure wisdom. And,
Absolutely.
he would be so lucky that God would give him the years that he's given us for him to even make it to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hope he does get those years so he can look back and go, what the hell was I thinking? You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So,
Or it can be hit by a bus, but whatever happens, happens, that's out of our hands.
Yeah, probably that.
I mean, we can't solve everything.
He's a man. There'll be no loss. It's fine. There's another one just
we
to scoop it right behind him.
can't do it all. We can't do it all. This
Can't do
has
it
been a
all.
great conversation. It really has been. And I think it's one that can span over several episodes because there is so much to unpack when
Yeah.
it comes to women. We are such a delicate and complicated, species, but we are also very passionate, very emotional, very expectant of the right things. We're very serving and very deliberate, and we are so quick to give others grace, but grace is normally not afforded to us,
Yeah.
you know? So I feel like this can be unpacked in so many different ways. And I look forward to us having more
Me too.
conversations, the three of us, as we dive down, because it doesn't matter color. It
No.
really doesn't. We as women, a lot of us are being treated in the same realm and just being neglected because once you become a midlifer and you're aging, they don't care. We're all invisible to them at that time. So thank you so much, Carolyn. I
Thank you,
really
guys.
appreciate it. We at Wisdom and Bloom, we really appreciate it.
Of course, we are pleased to have
I
you
gotta
here,
make sure that
Carolyn.
Lovey is
I love
still
you guys.
over there.
Is there anything else you wanted to share before we let you go back to your wonderful podcast, The Devil Wears SPF?
On the lines of being unapologetic, I hope as we move through our lives, whether we believe it or not, at least I hope we, as women in general, can start modeling the fact
Mm-hmm.
that and practicing and trying to make it a habit until we do believe it, that we can live our lives unapologetically,
Mm-hmm.
make decisions that we choose to have without explaining or defending them. And simply because they make us feel better about ourselves.
That's
That's all
right.
that matters. That's all that matters. So
Absolutely. I
love you
totally
guys.
agree.
Give us a heart, host.
You have said it all.
Did you call her a hoe?
I,
No. Host.
That's the next episode.
that's a different episode.
A person can change, Denise. I'm no longer. I've come far in my life, and that is not who I am anymore.
Person can change. My God.
A person can change. And
Don't ever change.
talking about women being unapologetic, if a woman chooses to spend time with a lot of different partners, that's fine too.
That's her prerogative.
I am her
That
biggest
is on
cheerleader,
that's
man.
your life. Yes, you do what you want. You're not hurting
Absolutely.
anybody. Go for it, I say, ladies.
I say too, and make sure you go to dentist so you don't get no cavities.
What?
That's a whole other story.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Be sure to check out Carolyn's podcast, The
Yes.
Devil Wears SPF, with the lovely Diane Brennan. They have a great time over there, and it's a whole lot of fun, ladies.
Yep. And their information will be in our show notes as well.
Yes,
Thanks so much,
absolutely,
you guys.
absolutely. Anything
Love
else
you,
tonight?
ladies.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, keep blooming.
Blooming, ladies.
See ya.
I can't believe